The most important piece of equipment that your new bassoonist will need is, of course, the bassoon itself. Now, if you have bassoons, you'll want to make sure that they're all in good working order. It's not a bad idea to take them to a repairman. But an important thing to consider is that the bassoon is kind of a specialty instrument, and some repair people may not be entirely comfortable working on bassoons, at least not as comfortable as they are working on clarinets or flutes. So make sure that you take it to someone who knows how everything works and is comfortable sealing it up. If the bassoon is leaky, if there are keys that are falling off, it's going to make your new bassoonist's life really, really difficult. So if you have a bassoon, make sure they're in good working order. If you're looking to purchase bassoons, I have a couple recommendations. There's lots of bassoons out there, but I think that the best all-around student bassoon is the Fox 240. That's called the Renard. They're very easy to play. They have decent sounds, good intonation. The key work is very comfortable. They stay in good regulation. Another really excellent student bassoon is by Bernd Mussmann. It's a German bassoon, and those are very nice, very affordable. They have a little bit of a richer sound than a Fox. Keywork's not quite as nice, but they're really great instruments also. If you have a student looking to buy, I recommend both of those for student model bassoons. Now, once you have a bassoon, you need reeds. And I know when I started, I got reeds from the local, music store, and they weren't very good. In fact, they were really terrible. And sadly, technology has not progressed in the past 20 years. So what you want to do is find some good reed sources. There are two approaches. One, if you live in an area where there are professional musicians, is to seek out a professional bassoonist who more than likely is happy to sell some of their reeds to your students, because student reeds will often be a little bit softer, a little bit less resistant, and those are the kind of reeds that a professional bassoonist probably won't want to use anyway, and so it'll be good for both parties. If you can't do that, or you don't want to do that, you can go to a few reputable double reed suppliers, and there are several in the country that are very good sources of reeds. There is Miller Marketing in Philadelphia, Forest's Music in Berkeley, California, Charles Double Reed in New Hampshire, Midwest Musical Imports up in Minneapolis, and many others, and they're all very good, and they'll offer a wide range of reeds that your students can experiment with. The important thing to tell your students, though, and their parents, is what they have to expect price-wise. They should expect to pay anywhere between, I would say, $12 and $20 for a decent bassoon reed. There's really no cutting corners with it. And they need to learn to take care of those reeds too, because one mishap and the reed's gone. So learning some spatial awareness of where this is will be really important for your young bassoonist, and it'll take a few broken reeds, but eventually he or she will get it. Along with reed care comes another really important piece of equipment, which is a reed case. Now, many store-bought reeds, including the reeds that you'll get from double reed specialty stores, will come packed for shipping in little plastic tubes or small plastic jewel cases. These are death for reeds because they trap the moisture in there, and reeds will mold, and students will play on moldy reeds for like months. And it's not only is it disgusting, but the reeds, as soon as they start to mold, they sound really awful. So be on the lookout for moldy reeds and really force them to get rid of them as soon as you see them. Now, to prevent moldy reeds is where the reed case comes in. You can buy reed cases, but you don't have to. A reed case can be something as simple as a Sucrets box or an Altoids box, any kind of little tin that you can poke holes in to provide ventilation. If you just line a Sucrets box or an Altoids box with some tissue and put the reeds in there and let them dry out completely between uses, then the reeds actually can last quite a long time. The next thing that they'll need is a cup to use to soak the reeds in water. And it's important to soak them in water. They soak up faster, the reeds will last longer in water. But I don't soak my reeds a really long time. There's kind of a sweet spot where they are just soaked enough to vibrate, but not so soaked that they become waterlogged. Oftentimes, students will be told that they need to soak their reeds in water rather than in their mouth, and they'll get really excited and they'll kind of overachieve in this realm, and they'll get a little cup of water that they can close, like a Tupperware cup or a Rubbermaid cup, and they'll just keep the reed in there all the time so it's always soaked. Sounds like a great idea, but actually it's not. When the reeds are that soaked, they swell up, they get bigger, they're harder to play on, and then they also mold really quickly. So soak them just a little while in not cold water, I would say room temperature to slightly warm water, maybe for a minute at the most. It really doesn't take very long to get the reed soaked up enough to play on. Another word about reeds: when you're choosing reeds for your students, or your students are choosing reeds for themselves, you can work on intonation by choosing different reeds. The longer or wider a reed is, the lower the pitch will be, and the shorter or narrower it is, the higher the pitch will be. So if you have a student who is chronically a little under the pitch, you can get a slightly smaller reed, and if you call up any double reed shop, they'll be able to give you the different dimensions of the different kinds of reeds, different shapes, different scrapes, and you can play around with the different types, and that'll really help fine-tune their intonation, get something that'll give them a really comfortable baseline to start from. After they've got their reeds, their reed cup, their bassoon, they need a seat strap, and I'm actually fairly particular about what kind of seat strap I use. I use the strap that has a cup on the end rather than a hook, and the reason I like the cup is because if you have the bassoon in the cup, you can actually pivot the bassoon in the seat strap so that it's a little more comfortable in the hands. With the hook, the bassoon often turns out like this, and the student can be very scared to balance it because it feels like it's going to fall, and it is going to fall. But with the cup, you can actually twist the bassoon so that it's sort of angled like this back towards you, and now it balances really easily. My hand just goes here, and it's a really natural hand position. I'm not holding it any place. So I recommend getting the cup type of seat strap. The other advantage to investing in a cup seat strap is that not all bassoons have holes for the hooks. And so this is really universal, whereas the hook seat strap is not necessarily going to be usable for every instrument. Once you've got all of that, you'll need some basic reed tools, and either for you to adjust reeds or for the students. It doesn't take much. Less than 30 bucks can equip you to do most things. A pair of pliers if they get too closed, maybe some sandpaper, Swiss Army knife, and that's all you really need to do a little bit of rudimentary reed work.